Over the last few months, I've heard from residents who've been concerned about housing affordability, food insecurity, the growing cost of healthcare. I've heard from nonprofit leaders overwhelmed with the ongoing needs of residents post-COVID. And I've heard from our educators who are overworked and overstaffed. Montgomery County's needs are real, and we hear you. Determining the county's $7.1 billion budget is a balancing act. But I've looked and listened to make sure we address the issues that are needed. I know that our schools need help. Hate and violence is on the rise. More students are struggling with mental illness and substance abuse. There's a shortage of teachers and substitutes. Schools used to be a place with a singular purpose, to teach our children. Now they serve many, many more purposes with many, many more needs. And supporting our teachers and students will always be a top priority for me. That is the social compact we engaged in with our public education system. And because of half of our tax-supported budget, $3.3 million, is going to our school system. There is no question that the needs of our students continue to grow. There is no question that we have to fully fund our teachers' contracts. But I do have questions about the level of transparency within the MCPS budget. During our review of the MCPS budget, I asked one simple question that unveiled the need for greater transparency. I spoke about the need for oversight, focusing my comments on one line item that was listed as $100 million for contracting services. As a result of my question, we learned that contracting services include everything from special needs educators to snow removal, an incredibly large and expansive budgetary line item that should not be lumped together. I've consistently called for greater transparency in the way that we determine our school budget, and I worked with the Maryland Association of Counties to introduce a statewide legislation to improve the budget process for all school districts throughout Maryland. Now, that legislation is not intended to micromanage our budget. Rather, it's simply intended to better understand the budget. And while that reform was not approved by the General Assembly this year, I believe we're moving in the right direction. We also had competing needs with healthcare, health and human services, and making sure that our unhoused population continues to receive the support they need. The Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments' most recent point-in-time count, which came out this week, shows that Montgomery County had the highest increase in homelessness, a 71% increase from 2020, which is why we need to fund essential programs and services to divert residents from ending up on our streets in the first place. Regarding public safety, we're going to continue building on the work that has reduced crime across the county, work that is easing strain on police officers and keeping our community safe. One of those items is our Drone as First Responder program. I'm pleased that we will be expanding it from Silver Spring and Wheaton to Bethesda and the Gaithersburg, Germantown area. We know that it works, and we know that it helps. Last year, as council president, I formed the Economic Development Committee to help elevate the issue of job creation, business retention, and economic advancement. I appreciate the chair of that committee for the work that has taken place. And over the last several weeks, we have talked a lot about economic development here at the council. However, I had concerns about this year's process in approving piecemeal programs. And as a result of this budget, the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation will face a 21.5% reduction in its operating budget. This will make it harder to fulfill the obligations and expectations we've placed on them, but it also creates an incentive to engage in much needed discussions this summer with MCEDC about its mission, about how we can best support its economic needs, and the need to work collaboratively across the street and across all facets of county government. I'm pleased that we supported the Great Seneca Transit Network. It's much needed for Up County. It's much needed for our economic development goals and our science corridor. And I'm also very pleased that we have restored funding for the extension of Summit Avenue in Kensington. This is not simply a road project, but it is an investment in housing, in the economy, and in multimodal commuting. Last point I want to make is about the environment. And if we are committed to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2027 and eliminating them completely by 2035, we need to invest in that critical work. Unfortunately, this budget does not get us there. While it does provide funding to continue transitioning our fleet of buses to become zero emission, with the procurement of nearly 100 electric buses by 2027, it does not provide resources to help owners become energy efficient, convert our buildings to become greener, or to allow low-income residents to access tax credits to help green their homes. It falls short on where we need to be, and our planet cannot wait. And in closing, I just want to thank my incredible team who answers emails and answers phone calls every single day, hearing from residents about what is on their mind. It is that work of listening to people and helping people that has helped me prioritize this budget. And so I want to thank Valeria, Joy, Hope, Hannah, and Molly for their work and dedication. Our office motto is, "We rise by lifting others." And I believe that this budget lives up to that ideal. Thank you, Mr. President.